It's almost cost prohibitive to drive the car and any distances now. And why? Because we're involved in a war in one of the most oil-rich countries in the world.
It's just the beginning, however, of the inflationary effects of the shortage of oil, petroleum, and the uncertainties of the international supply. It is, in fact, even today, underpriced in the sense that many of the expenses that we're bearing right at the moment for supporting troops, for example, in the Middle East and other international activities should be figured into the cost of producing oil and making it available to the American public, and right at the moment those costs are not being reflected at the price at the pump.
Well, personally, I couldn't afford the gas when it went right up. I had to charge it. I drove nowhere other than to my grocery store, the doctors. I couldn't afford to go anywhere.
I don't like it like everybody else, and I think it's very tough on people that are on a very restricted budget.
I know my rent's going to go up because of the price of heating oil.
I'm sure I'm not the only one that it's affected the price of heating oil, because I got my $718 bill last month, and I'm going, geez, I'm fortunate enough to have the money to pay the bill. What about the people that don't have enough to pay the bill, like some of the old elderly, or people that are already on a fixed budget that can't afford it?
Definitely suffering, because the way I learned about the oil companies, that in the wintertime, it's legal for them to lift up their prices, and it's already high already. So how what we gonna do? $500 to fill up a 300 gallon tank? Come on, we poor?
We got price gouges in this country. We got a lot of people running things. You can't blame the gas stations. You got to blame the people behind them. These people that are controlling gas or any other product, any other valuable product that we have, whether it's coal, whether it's metal, we have no industries left in this country. So they're able to get this product from another place, control the prices, and wham it on the American people, which is sad.
Ultimately, in the long run, we're going to see a major change in energy prices, and that will be an upward change.
Well, again, getting back to George Bush, he should... He's got his own oil wells he should tap into.
I don't think oil should be that high. We have a reserve of our own. I think we should tap it.
So what do you think of the price of housing in general?
The price of housing is a little too high.
I think it's absurd.
It's very bad.
Home prices are insane. Way too much.
Well, the bubble's definitely bursted.
My God.
It affects everyone.
Yeah, there's too much expensive everything.
It's very hard to live in the Northeast. Well, New York.
It's really expensive in New York.
The market's high in housing.
It's getting hard to live on Long Island.
Long Island isn't a good sample of the cost of housing in the United States.
People are not able to pay their mortgages.
Nope, I'm not.
They make it hard for us to survive.
There has to be a reasonable pricing. Years ago, gas was 26 cents. A house was, what, $30,000, $40,000?
My parents bought their house, I guess, 50 years ago, whatever. Paid $18,000 for it. Now it's $700,000.
10 years ago, we got it for $450,000. Now it's worth $1 million more.
Where's your affordable housing?
The high cost of housing will be a serious problem, particularly for young people trying to find their first home.
I feel sorry for people that are just starting out, young people, haven't got a prayer in hell to buy a house.
Or to stay current with their needs with an expanding family. What we have right at the moment are artificially low interest rates. Those artificially low interest rates are stimulating excessive competition amongst families and individuals for housing space.
Even the crummy ones. I'm not talking about the brand new house, but even the crummy ones.
I just looked on the wall over there, and they wanted $800 for somebody for a room. A room, to rent a room, not a house, a room.
I don't have a house. I rent a place because right now, coming back from Iraq, just getting whole new back on my feet again, it's hard. It's hard for everybody.
I think it's gone up a lot.
They're getting away with murder, man. They gotta, somehow or another, they're gonna have to put a cap on that. The rent cap, whatever, and slow everybody down. You know what I'm saying? Because they're going really crazy with the rent out here.
My mom's one. She wants to move down south because it's so expensive up here.
When I call people down south, on Florida, they got like the, we call those condos with the steps that go up like this. I said, man, for us to rent a place like that, it'll cost us $3,800 and better.
Long Island, like I said earlier, is not a good sample for determining the cost of housing, really. I mean, Long Island is Long Island, okay? So I've known houses bought in places like Ohio, in places like Kansas City, and I've seen houses bought for $17,000, three-bedroom houses. Is that part of America? Yes. So generally, and on the average, I think the cost of housing in the United States is still reasonable.
Great. I own 2 houses, and I think they should keep going.
Ultimately, I think the market will return to normal, but it will do so not by a sharp decline in housing prices, but rather inflation for all other things, such that housing becomes relatively less expensive in proportion to everything else. In other words, there'll be a general inflationary trend. Right at the moment, housing is at the leading edge of that inflationary trend, but it ultimately will catch up with all aspects of our necessary expenditures, and it will lead to a much more difficult overall financial situation for all parties concerned.
Because wages won't necessarily catch up.
Precisely. Wages, particularly at the low end of the scale, have stagnated, and they've really stagnated since the 1970s. The good-paying manufacturing jobs are disappearing. We are left with a core job base, which are primarily service-oriented jobs, and that's people making money off of one another as opposed to being truly productive. Ultimately, that will also contribute to inflation, but still, wages, and in particular considering the tax bite, wages cannot possibly keep up with the twin blow of increasing public costs and the increase in private costs for housing, for necessities, food, and all the other things that people need.
And how about the stock market or your 401k plan? What's your opinion on those?
What are they?
I don't really know much about the stock market, and I don't have a 401k.
I have no 401k, and I don't mess around with the stock market.
Well, I don't follow the stock market, and I am not in a position to have a 401k.
I don't have one. I don't really know.
No, I haven't heard anything about that. I don't really look into that.
I don't have an opinion on that either.
Well, I don't have either one.
A 401k. I'm an independent photographer. I work for myself, so.
I haven't been investing as much, but I do have a 401k.
I don't have any 401ks, but I have a little money in the market, and it's gone up.
The stock market seems to be doing well, not that I have any money in it. Well, of course, all our money's in a house on Long Island.
Well, the stock market's been pretty good, thank God. I think a lot of influx is not good, but it's had some good days. Of course, stock market is a fluctuating thing.
If you invest in a mutual fund, if the money goes bad, if the economy goes bad, you lose your money.
I think that there's a lot of games that go on in the stock market.
Listen to the market reports. S&P might be up 1 or 2. Next day it's down 10, up 1. It just seems to never really level off or go up.
I think it's a very risky business, I just hope that the people that have these things, that it works out for them.
I'm a very safe individual, so I invest in more of the biotechnology side, and I diversify my portfolio, so I'm able to get a small amount of return, but not high, but reasonable enough. At least I'm not losing any money.
After 9/11, the future contributions went into money market, which is the safest, that my company offers.
And do you have a 401k?
No.
You're talking about the pensions now, right? Okay.
401k, they ain't giving those out these days. You got to be lucky, and I'm talking about real lucky.
Pension's been taken away in a lot of places, including where I work at.
I don't care if you had a job for 8 years, 10 years, 20 years. Either the business gonna go out of business, or they're gonna fire you because you're making too much money. You've been there too long.
If you look at what's happening around the world, you discover that the pension problem is a world problem. It's an international problem.